I think it's a funny mixture of wild plants and farming that will be the next step. Yeah. There are already so many wild plants on the land. There are wild carrots and wild parsnips, and there are many, many herbs, all in between and around our vegetable patches. And the next step for me would be to grow something that can take care of itself and that is a bit more wild than vegetables, like a food forest.
We're in the village of Balaguier-d'Olt in the region of Aveyron, and we arrived here a year and a half ago. I had worked on different farms and gardens before, and I arrived here with a curiosity for wild plants especially.
We got to know each other actually at Schumacher College, where you studied journalistic science, huh? And I studied economics for transition. And we arrived here for a week working on the question how to live and work together with other students from Schumacher College. And then we decided to stay longer and longer, and eventually we thought, why don't we live here? And before I lived here, I lived in Tel Aviv and I had a little restaurant, so there was always a curiosity about local food and food that is actually an expression of the land where it's grown in and what that does to a food culture.
We arrived through a friend and a professor who had lived here for 10 years, and she put us in touch with the mayor, and from then on we were neighbors of the mairie, the town hall, and so we saw each other every day, and from then on got introduced to different people, and also
inviting. We invited for many dinners in the gardens. We invited for visits, for advice. Yeah.
Slowly, first neighbors dinners, and then slowly a series of dinners, almost like a little moving restaurant from place to place that we called the Déjeuner and Dîner Sauvage, wild lunches and dinners, cooking with the wild and with the harvests of the vegetable patch.
Yeah, when I remember the first time, initially it was also about getting to know here. Like you went on many walks in the beginning, and I remember you coming back with these green baskets that I didn't know in the beginning. I was always thinking, why are there bunches of nettles in our kitchen and who the hell should eat them? But then eventually it was also finding ourselves in our practices. Like, I think in the beginning there were maybe 3 or 4 plants that you brought back. By now there are, a numerous number of plants that comes into the kitchen where I cook. We had help from the very, very first hour, which was about how to find this land. We had mentioned this a couple of times during these dinners, and then eventually our mayor took initiative and put us in touch with a landowner who had grown melons and strawberries, and then for 8 years hadn't grown anything. So he was actually happy when we said, we would like to experiment on this land and grow food there. So he entrusted us the land, which already happened with help. And then we invited our neighbors and asked, what could we grow there? What do you think works well? What have you seen happening there already? And then our neighbors from the left side installed a solar panel and a pump with us, and another neighbor helped us to construct a wooden platform so that we can now host dinners there, and another neighbor started to help us in clearing the land, and other neighbors have a vegetable patch there. So by now it feels like a communal living room a little bit. I think it's a funny mixture of wild plants and farming that will be the next step. Yeah. There are already so many wild plants on the land. There are wild carrots and wild parsnips, and there are many herbs, all in between and around our vegetable patches. And the next step for me would be to grow something that can take care of itself and that is a bit more wild than vegetables, like a food forest.
And do you already know how much money you will need for that, or how that would look like?
I think in the beginning we'll make little steps. Like we moved here in every other part too. So I think with a budget of 800 to 1,000 euros, we could make a really substantial step towards a food forest, and then it can develop step by step further.